joined by Sagarika Ghosh to give us her take as well. Sagarika, hi, morning. It's going to be a very fierce battle. What are you going to be, tracking with respect to this big finale? Which is the region that you think stands out the most at this point of time? There's a lot of action happening in West Bengal. There's Punjab. There's, of course, the key seats of Varanasi and Gorakhpur also at stake.
Well, yes, it's been a long, drawn-out election campaign. This has been a hot and a very exhausting campaign. But as all of us reporters have found on the campaign trail, the weather is garam, but the voter is a little thanda. Because we don't see the kind of enthusiasm, we haven't seen the kind of engagement that we saw in 2014. Having said that, the great election show is always a very captivating one. Today we saw the Prime Minister in Kedarnath in that setting, which is really a wonderful piece of media choreography where you completely take the eyeballs away from the opposition and the meetings that Chandrababu Naidu and Rahul Gandhi are having and actually divert the camera to a wonderful, brilliant media spectacle in the mountains. I think this campaign has seen very masterful media management and media choreography and certainly has set new benchmarks in the way the media has been used for political campaign. But this is a very important phase, the last and final phase. The question does arise, Karunya, that why could two phases not be collapsed into one, because the third phase, as you know, had 115 seats. So if you can handle 115 seats in one phase, why can't you handle over 100 seats in another phase? But it has been staggered, and anyway, we are at the last and final phase, which is a fiercely contested phase. This is a very important phase. The citadels of Mamata Banerjee in South Bengal are going to polls. Jadavpur, where the left believes it has a chance, where in 1984, as you know, Mamata Banerjee famously defeated Somnath Chatterjee, the CPM stalwart. But very importantly, the constituency of Varanasi going to polls. That's the Prime Minister's constituency, as you know, and I was in Varanasi, and the question is really not whether the Prime Minister will win, but really how big his margin is going to be. He is so confident, he doesn't even have to be in Varanasi. He's over there in Kedarnath. Bihar, very important. Several union ministers in the fray, Mr. Ravi Shankar Prasad, Mr. Ashwini Chaubey, Mr. Ram Kripal Yadav, R.K. Singh, all in the fray over there in this particular phase. We're going to look very closely at the battle for Patna Sahib, which is Ravi Shankar Prasad versus Shatrughan Sinha, as you know, who has just joined the Congress. And we're going to see whether that is going to play out, how that is going to play out. Gorakhpur, as you rightly mentioned, a very important contest. It was the Gorakhpur by-election in 2018, as you know, which the Gathbandhan won and defeated the BJP. So that was a big turnaround in political fortunes. But that is another contest we're going to be watching very, very closely indeed. I think Bengal is very important this time, Karunya, because the BJP has really seen Bengal as a growth area, as an area where it can expand its seat, and Mamata Banerjee is fighting back very tenaciously. As you know, we have now come into the areas where the Trinamool Congress is very, very dominant. But it is also here that the BJP is hoping to pick up seats. It's hoping to pick up Asansol, for example, where Munmun Sen is up against Babul Supriyo. He's hoping to win over there. Also the areas of Bashirhat, of the areas that have been charged with communal tensions, that have been, there has been some communal tension over there in Bashirhat. That is something that the BJP is hoping to benefit from. But Jadavpur will be very interestingly watched, because Jadavpur is where the 30-year-old actor Mimi Chakravarti from the Trinamool is contesting, and that is actually also where the left has thrown in its weight in the former Calcutta Mayor Bikash Ranjan Bhattacharya.
He's a want to ask one.
Jadavpur is a seat which the left is actually hoping to put up a fight.
I have a follow-up on that. Of course, you're talking about how important Bengal is, but let's talk about what transpired over the last couple of days in Bengal. After that violence broke out at the Vidyasagar College, there's been so much hue and cry about the event, both BJP, TMC, both of them blaming each other. How is the entire event likely to go down with voters?
Well, Elections in Bengal, sadly and tragically, have always been extremely violent. This is the legacy of the left front in some ways, which did practice a certain brand of violent politics, and polls are always marked in Bengal by violence. But whereas in other states you have, you have clashes or you have conflicts between rival groups, here you actually have guns and bombs and people being killed. So the polls are extremely violent in Bengal. This time it's a fiercely contested election in Bengal. Remember, this is where the BJP is making an audacious attempt to actually break through and actually win seats, and it hopes to win seats in the double digits. The Trinamool is determined not to yield its bastions. There's a desperation on both sides. This is a desperate fight. It isn't, as we say in Bengal, it's a hadda-haddi larai. It's a bone-to-bone fight. Every seat is being hotly contested. I think voters in Calcutta particularly would have been very alienated to see that the statue of Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, who is a great figure in Bengal, who is a scholar, academic reformer, he's known as a social reformer, to see his statue being vandalized in that sense would be very alienating for Bengal voters, because Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar is a very towering figure in Bengal. But I have to say that the resolve of the Bengali voter, the Bengal voter, will not be dampened. Remember, Bengal is a state where you have 80% turnout. The average turnout in Bengal is always about 80%, and as we have seen today as well, the voters have turned out in numbers already to cast their vote. So I believe the violence has made the Bengal voter even more determined to come out and exercise their vote, although I'm sure there is a great deal of negative feelings that all the violence has generated.
Right. Just very quickly, one last question that I'd like to take about what happened yesterday with respect to Mr. Lavasa, Mr. Ashok Lavasa, which, he came out and talked about how the EC is being biased. There's also some comments which were, there was a huge hue and cry made about the comments given by Sadhvi Pragya. There was a press conference done by PM Modi in this very week, which is the first time ever since he became the PM. All of these events have happened, but still there's a public outcry that the EC is biased. The BJP is being extremely, is being given a clean chit, and they perhaps don't deserve it. The PM said he might perhaps forgive, he might perhaps let go of what Sadhvi Pragya has said, but he wouldn't forgive her for that. But does this suffice? What is the public and what are the experts at this point of time? How are they interpreting all of these events?
I think this election has been marked by a serious lack of credibility on the part of the Election Commission of India, and this is a tragedy. We are the world's largest democracy. We take pride in our democratic processes. I think the manner in which the Election Commission of India is now split wide open, with Mr. Ashok Lavasa coming out and saying, well, the news has leaked out that he has said that his minority dissenting views have not been recorded. The Election Commissioner has then hit out saying that this is a very unsavory kind of issue to raise, and none of the election commissioners can be expected to be clones of each other. But terrible controversy to hang over India's general elections. India's general elections are the pride of India. We take pride in a free and fair poll. But the manner in which this election has seen the split wide open quality of the Election Commission, the lack of credibility of the Election Commission, really casts a severe doubt this time, I'm sorry to say, on the way in which the Election Commission has conducted these polls. Now, today we are seeing the Prime Minister holding a media spectacle over there in Kedarnath. We're seeing him talking to the press. We're seeing a kind of almost like a rally, whereas this is supposed to be the silence period. This is supposed to be the period where you can't campaign. Now, is the EC going to take note of this? Is the EC going to take note of the many poll violations that have been committed? Sadhvi Pragya's statements have not been, yes, the EC has banned her, but the EC for a period, but the EC simply has not come up with any strong strictures. So the charge is that the EC is bending over backwards to accommodate the government, to accommodate the Prime Minister, to accommodate BJP President Amit Shah, and not cracking down enough. So the Election Commission has been called the election omission of India. And I believe that after this election, stakeholders must sit down, they must put their heads together and find out how the Election Commission remains a neutral, apolitical body that oversees the pride of India, which is India's general elections.
Right. Sagarika, great chatting with you. Thank you so much for giving us your perspective on the Phase 7 and the various events that have led to, this all-important day.